of Commissioners of May 28th to order. Roll call, please.
Brabham. Here. McGuire. Here. Moran. Here. Ortega.
Aye.
Reinhardt.
Here.
Zhang.
Here.
And Martinson.
Here. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. I'm going to turn to Commissioner Fretham for our land acknowledgement this morning.
Thank you. Every community owes its existence and vitality to generations from around the world who contributed their hopes, dreams, and energy to making the history that led to this moment. Some were brought here against their will, some were drawn to leave their distant homes in hope of a better life, and some have lived on this land since time immemorial. Truth and acknowledgement are critical to building mutual respect and connection across all barriers of heritage and difference. We are standing on the ancestral lands of the Dakota people. We want to acknowledge the Ojibwe, the Ho-Chunk, and the other nations of people who also called this place home. We pay respects to their elders past and present. Please take a moment to consider the treaties made by the tribal nations that entitle non-Native people to live and work on traditional Native lands. Consider the many legacies of violence, displacement, migration, and settlement that bring us together here today. And please join us in uncovering such truths at any and all public events.
Thank you, Commissioner Fretham. We have the agenda of May 28th, 2024 presented for approval. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second. We have a motion and second. Any discussion? Seeing none, roll call, please.
Brabham.
Aye.
McGuire. Aye. Moran.
Aye.
Ortega.
Aye.
Reinhardt.
Aye.
Zhang.
Aye.
And Martinson.
We have the minutes from May 21st, 2024 presented for approval. Is there a motion?
So moved.
We have a motion and second. Any discussion? Seeing none, roll call, please.
Brabham.
Aye.
McGuire. Aye. Moran. Ortega.
Aye.
Reinhardt.
Aye.
Zhang.
Aye.
And Martinson.
Aye. First up, we have a presentation of award. This is the National Association of Social Workers Minnesota Chapter Social Worker of the Year for our own very own Sophia Thompson. And Commissioner Moran will be presenting. Please come to the dais, Sophia. Good morning.
Well, good morning and happy Tuesday. So I have the honor and the privilege to stand before the Board of Commissioners to present this award to someone that I have met, have been able to learn from, hear from, and see her passion, her commitment to the work that she does here at Ramsey County. So I'm going to give a little background about Sophia and the work. The Social Work of the Year Award honors a member of the National Association of Social Workers who amplifies the best of the profession's values and achievement through specific accomplishments. In honoring the Social Worker of the Year, NASW highlights superb accomplishments in the patients in the practice of social work. Only NAWS chapter may submit nominations for this category of awards. Sophia Thompson is the recipient of the National Association of Social Workers, which is the NASW, Minnesota chapter Social Worker of the Year Award. Sophia Thompson is the Deputy Director of the Social Service in Ramsey County and oversees the Mental Health Division. Being tasked with mental health services for the county is a large undertaking that she does not shy away from and is always, always, always looking for ways that we can provide better services to our community members. She has been a strong leader in building transformational work. And that's what we need around here, transformational work at the intersection of mental health and the justice system. let me just say that again, in white, mental health and the justice system goes together because we have a large population of people who are being incarcerated, who are struggling with mental health. This has included active involvement in the county's strategic priorities of centering community and wellness and justice system transformation, working to address service gaps for the rural 20 population, and leading her team in the development of mental health urgent cares. Sophia is very accomplished in her work, but most impressive is the perspective that she brings. She continues to remind people of the need for multidisciplinary work in solving complex problems. She supports her team in connecting with others by reminding them that we all have our different lens, and we need to all come together to see the full picture. Sophia is always looking to engage others in solving complex challenges and finding ways to build and support partnerships with system partners and community. She is a phenomenal example of how to perform ethical social work that centers community and racial equity. May I present to you Sophia Thompson.
I have a few comments. Good morning, Commissioners, County Manager Berg. I'm Tina Curry, the Interim Social Services Director. I want to extend my heartfelt congratulations to our esteemed Deputy Director, Sophia Thompson, for receiving the Social Worker of the Year award. This recognition is a testament to her unwavering dedication and exceptional contributions to our community. Sophia's career has been marked by her commitment to making a difference, starting as a child protection worker, where she tirelessly worked to ensure the safety and well-being of our most vulnerable children and families. Her compassion and expertise quickly distinguished her as a leader, and she went on to become a manager in behavioral health services. In this role, Sophia implemented numerous programs and initiatives that significantly improved the support and resources available to families. Now, as the Deputy Director of Mental Health Services, Sophia has continued to build on her impressive legacy. She has been instrumental in expanding access to mental health services, advocating for social justice, and ensuring service equity for all members of our community. Her leadership in mental health services has been transformative, leading to innovative approaches and improved outcomes for families. Sophia's dedication to social work and her relentless pursuit of equity and social justice have not only earned her this prestigious award, but also the deepest respect and gratitude from all of us. Her journey from protecting children to leading our behavioral health initiatives exemplifies the very best of social work. Yeah, I'm fine.
Okay.
I don't know why. We are incredibly fortunate to have Sophia Thompson as part of our team, and we look forward to her continued contributions in our community. I am fine, and I thank you for this opportunity.
Thank you, Tina, and good morning, Commissioners, good morning, County Manager. Just adding a few extra words here. We had a celebration in community for Sophia where her entire team was there, family, got to meet all of the people who wrapped themselves around Sophia so that she can be who she needs to be here in Ramsey County. Wherever you go, in this system, whether you're talking to our chief judge or our county attorney's office, or you're talking to our partners, you're talking to leadership at Health Partners, everyone starts the conversation with me with the same thing. We so appreciate Sophia Thompson. She's amazing, she does wonderful work, and she's advocating for all of our people in our community, and it shows. And so, Sophia, congratulations on this well-deserved award.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. I will be brief and just say thank you to the National Association of Social Work Commissioners, County Manager Berg. It's an honor to be acknowledged for what you do every day, and you just do it. And so I step into this very humbly. My people who know me know that. Thank you, and let's keep moving on with the work. But I'm learning to stand in the acknowledgement and getting the flowers now. And so I am grateful and thankful to those who see the work. I enjoy leading the work. I enjoy the team that is around me leading the work. It is not easy, and we continue to push forward. When I think about the what National Association of Social Work means, when their values of service, social justice, dignity and worth of a person, value of human relationships, integrity and competence, it even more humbles me, and I'm grateful to receive the award because that says that those are the things that I embody in the work that I do every day, and I look forward to continuing to do the work here at Ramsey County. Thank you.
Wait, we want to take a photo before you run away. Camera, and congratulations again. It's so well deserved, and we're very proud of the work that you do and continue to do tirelessly. There always seems to be more, and we really appreciate you, Director Thompson. Yeah, go ahead, Commissioner Fredham.
I'll just add, it's been such a pleasure to have you join us on county courts and your work on Rule 20 and children's mental health. Just absolutely, we can see it on the board and completely understand how you were given this award.
All right.
Is it backwards? Yes. That sounds like me. sounds like something I would do.
Everyone just take one step this way. Thank you. Awesome. We take it to you. 1, 3, 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. All right. Next, we have a very important proclamation. This is a proclamation Commissioner Reinhardt will present to Darren Tolbolt for Darren Tolbolt Day. Darren and Wendy, if you want to join him.
Yep, that is a proclamation.
Yeah.
And I think Wendy should come up here too.
I think so.
Yes.
We'll take photos.
It's been a team effort.
Yeah, they are a great team. Well, it is bittersweet for me here today, but I am very excited to offer this proclamation to Darren Tolbolt. So it reads, whereas Darren Tolbolt was born on April 21st, 1972, and shortly thereafter began working for the Ramsey County Board of Commissioners. And whereas Darren served as Principal Assistant and Policy Director for Commissioner Victoria Reinhardt for 27 years, from 1997 to 2024. And whereas Darren has been an indispensable organizer of the Northland Cup charity hockey game, which has raised tens of thousands of dollars to help individuals suffering from partner and family violence. And whereas untold thousands of residents from Ramsey County and around the world have explored and learned about the historic Ramsey County Courthouse through Darren's countless hours of unpaid volunteer work for the Ramsey County Historical Society. And whereas the residents of White Bear Lake, North St. Paul, Maplewood, and other regions of St. Paul have been able to depend on Darren for decades to help them navigate county services and to access the resources they need. And whereas Darren has accepted a new position working for the residents of Dakota County, now therefore be it proclaimed, the Ramsey County Board of Commissioners declares May 30th, 2024 as Darren Tolbolt Day in Ramsey County. And be it further proclaimed, the Ramsey County Board of Commissioners wishes Darren success and happiness in all of his future endeavors. And I would like to say also that, Darren and Wendy have become part of my family. And when Darren commented to Wendy that he had worked for me for over half of his life, she said, over half of your adult life. And he said, no, over half of my life. So anyhow, and I also want you to know, I'm going to give him a chance to speak here too, but the countless numbers of people that have already said to me, they're sorry to see me go, but they're really sorry to see him go. Because he's the point of contact. And, we work as a team as well. And that is the way it has always been in our office. I did tell him the day that he started that he better like solid waste because it was my passion. Now, he thought solid waste was something else, and he wasn't sure if he wanted the job. But then when I told him that it was recycling and toxicity reduction, yes, he jumped right in then. Anyhow, and I also want you to know that by edict of the chair, there are cupcakes in the break room in the county board office, both red velvet, the chair's favorite, and blueberry yellow cupcakes that are Darren's favorite. So with that, I'm going to turn this over to Darren and give him a few words.
Well, thank you. I didn't realize till looking at the agenda that I had a few minutes to say something, so now is the time for the airing of the grievances. No. In the spring of '96, I called Victoria Reinhardt to ask her to volunteer. I cold called her, like on a list of people, to volunteer for the re-election campaign of Senator Paul Wellstone. And she said she was happy to help, but that she was going to be busy that year running for county commissioner. I really didn't know what that was, so I said, sure, I'm sure we can make that all work out. But she was a dream candidate to work with. I mean, she was always there looking to help the team. But lucky for me, I made a friend, because in the spring of '97, I called Victoria, then the new commissioner, Victoria Reinhardt, to be a reference for a job at the legislature. And she said, sure, but I'll do you one better. And she offered me a job that I didn't know existed at the time. And I never looked back. So thank you, Victoria, for the amazing opportunity you've given me so many years ago, and all your continued support and encouragement. You're the best mentor anyone could ask for. I'll save my Victoria stories for her retirement, but I think we can all agree that government needs more people like her. Her commitment to the work, to finding consensus for progress, her willingness to learn from others and change her mind when the facts demand it, her ability to listen through a person's anger and hear the issue that needs to be addressed, and I've been lucky to learn from the best. So people are shocked when they hear how long I've worked here, but it's never been the same job. It's been different day to day, year to year. There's always a new mountain climb and problems to solve. Supporting elected officials means sure that their vision gets translated into the work being done. And the Ramsey County has an impressive team of thoughtful leaders, and it's a progressive county. I've been lucky enough to work with great people at all levels to help to bring those ideas and to fix the big problems, to dig deep into our limited resources, to effectively and positively impact things like healthy youth development, how to support our residents to maintain themselves in safe homes, protecting people from intimate partner violence, designing a waste management system that combats global climate change, redesigning department, very nerdy things. For people who like to sit in this room on a Tuesday, redesigning the department structure and budget process to better understand the outcomes and how those decisions affect the mission, vision, and values of this organization. But every day, Ramsey County makes the world, people that work at Ramsey County make the world a better place, and I've loved working here. Consistently, I meet people who do the work that inspires me. I can go on for days about the people I've met and the work that they've done, or I could talk about Sophia Thompson and the fact that there is a clubhouse now in Ramsey County, something that we've worked on for decades. And all of a sudden, Sophia Thompson could just make it happen. So that great work, is inspiring. And it's good to know that there are thoughtful leaders here, and that I'm, even though I'm going to work to the county to the south, I remain a Ramsey County resident. And I look here at the leaders of Ramsey County, and I'm inspired for our future. So thank you all for the opportunity. Thank you.
Now, I will say one more thing. So when I hired Darren, he started out part-time because Pam was having a baby. And so anyhow, and then became full-time. But so I would tell people that I hired Darren Tobold. And they'd say, okay, who's Darren? And I knew that they knew who he was from the Wellstone campaign. And I'd say, Darren from the Wellstone campaign. And they would say, oh, Big Darren. And this happened several times. And finally, I turned to Darren and I said, was there another Darren there? And he said, no. And I said, what you have to understand is at my height, everybody's big. You know? So anyhow, it has been quite a ride and just so much fun. And just every part of our lives have been intertwined. And I know that I still have your phone number. And so I hopefully won't be calling him at 10 o'clock at night, but you never know. Anyway, so do join us downstairs after and have cupcakes and again.
Yeah. Go ahead, Commissioner McGuire.
I don't know if you're going to, Darren, if you
We're
want
going
to
to take
stay up
pictures,
there.
but
Oh,
just,
yeah, Darren.
Yeah.
there might be a
Others are
few
gonna
more
wanna say a
comments.
few things.
Yeah, you can take it. Well, yeah, you want to take the photo? Wendy, want to?
Wendy?
Okay, then I can make it.
Yes.
Yes, it is.
Yes, it is.
All right, ready, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, one more, 1, 2, 3.
Thank you.
Okay, now you have to stay up here.
All right, Commissioner McGuire.
So, yeah, I know we could go on, and it's always a bittersweet when we know that someone that we love to see and in all the work that we do going on to another opportunity. But we are going to miss you, Darren. I from when I first started, it was always ask Darren. He knows what's going on. You know, when you start new here, it's like Darren will help you through this, and you have always been there. You've always stepped in when there needs to be something. When I'm in a room, I'm always glad that Darren's there, because then I know there's two great minds working on this, Victoria and Darren, like on the solid waste, you know, on everything that you've been working on, and just so grateful for everything you've given to all of us and to Ramsey County. And we've always said we love it when our people go somewhere else. So I'm excited that if you're not going to be here, that you're going to a county that it's good for them to learn about Ramsey County and know about what we're doing. It's really good for them to have that perspective. So I'm excited that you're going to be helping them understand how Metro-wide works and things. So thank you for everything you've done, Darren.
Commissioner Fretham.
Darren, I just want to thank you. I commend you on having an aide for 27 years. I'm on my third aide. I don't think it's because I'm a terrible boss. There are extenuating circumstances, but Darren has been my go-to when onboarding a new person. If you have a question, ask Darren. And not only does he know the answer, but he is such a good mentor and colleague, and he doesn't have to, but he really cares about the county and making sure all of the residents in Ramsey County, not just District 7, get what they need. And then my aide and Commissioner Reinhardt's aide have to work together a lot, because whenever someone from White Bear emails us, we have to confirm that they live in the right White Bear. And Darren is so good about that and working together, especially on funky little issues. He's my go-to on the township when someone needs to change their charitable gambling, which is a random thing we need to approve for the township. So thank you for that and all of your support. And for me as well, you've been a great resource for all of us, but I really want to thank you for that.
I remember when Victoria introduced me to Darren when he first came in, and ever since that day, you've been a wonderful colleague, somebody who could easily talk to. That's one thing I admire about you. You're a easy to talk to person. We've had a lot of fun at different conferences. We won't talk about that. But keeping up with Darren is not easy, believe me. And, I wish you luck at Dakota County. We're going to miss you here in Ramsey. You're one of those hidden pillars of the work we do. So thank you for being a good friend and a good colleague.
Thank you. Thank you all.
I'm just sitting here trying not to cry. So I'm going to go to Commissioner Moran.
Before you. With Darren, I have some memories too. And really, I look back like many, many years ago when I became an active citizen, was learning to organize, and my first visit to see Commissioner Reinhardt and you. And often it is the assistant is the first person of contact that make you feel comfortable, at ease, and welcome. And that is what you have done. You have done that here in Ramsey County. You have done that out in the community, and you have done that in your work, in your political world, right? And so just want to say thank you. Thank you for all your years and all your commitment to the work that we do here in Ramsey County to make people's lives better and connect them to the county. And congratulations on your new role. We appreciate you.
Darren, congratulations. And I would say that you have been a giant of your own. And it's tremendous. What a great opportunity to go to another county after serving Ramsey County for more than half your life. Like, that is huge, and thank you for that. You are leaving Ramsey County in a much better space. And, a lot of the work that you do, may often feels like, it's invisible or maybe not even given a thank you for. But I just want to say that you are a giant of your own. And moving to another county will definitely bring progress over there. And I'm hopeful for that, too. Thank you.
Excellent. I think about way back when we were aides together, and when I came on board and didn't know even where to start. Darren, everything I know about the county, you taught me. And this, seriously, like, we were aides and we would troubleshoot. I would get a call and you would help me work through it. And then when I decided I wanted to sit on the other side of the table, you were right there with me and have been my friend, my mentor, and my champion. I appreciate you.
Thank you all.
Yeah. All right. Yeah. So there are cupcakes, thanks courtesy to Commissioner Reinhardt. She has the best frosting in the world, so you have to try the cupcakes. Come down to the office and celebrate Darren as well. All right, we're going to move on to the business at hand. Commissioner Fretham.
I would like to move item number 5, repurchase of a tax forfeited property located at 67 Magnolia Avenue West, St. Paul, Minnesota, 55117. Item 6, repurchase of a tax forfeited property located at 287 Cecilia Place, St. Paul, Minnesota, 55105. Item number 7, repurchase of a tax forfeited property located at 523 Western Avenue North, St. Paul, Minnesota, 55103. To move item 8, parcel C easement amendment 1 with the United States of America and the Rice Creek Regional Trail Corridor, and I will pull item 9.
Okay, thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Fretham.
Aye.
McGuire. Aye. Moran.
Aye.
Ortega. Aye. Reinhardt. Aye. Zhang. Aye. And Martinson.
Aye. We'll go back to the personnel complement increase in financial assistance services.
I'd like to move personnel complement increase in financial assistance services.
Okay.
Second.
Excellent. We have a motion and second, and I'm going to go to Commissioner Reinhardt and then Commissioner Fretham.
Thank you. I first of all want to make it pretty clear that I fully support this board action brought before us today for the 28 FTEs coming into our financial, up to 28, financial assistance services for the basic sliding fee program for child care assistance. This is a small action within the health and wellness service team, but one that can have a big impact on providing services to our child care community. With that said, I really want to begin the conversation about issues raised by our constituents and staff about what I will call the safety net services, which are part of health and wellness service team. Although it's only one of 4 service teams that has around 2,000 of our staff, which is close to 50% in one service team. It consists of social services, financial assistance services, public health, community corrections, and veteran services. It is no wonder that with all of that we are hearing about issues like the retention of staff, morale in the workplace, safety, support positions being cut, management level staff, and job burnout. On April 23rd, we held a county board workshop at which we requested data regarding these issues. And I am very grateful for all of the work, important data, and the work that was done by Health and Wellness, and we did receive that data last Friday. I know it was a lot of work, and as we dig into it, there will likely be even more questions, so I so appreciate it. The information is important so that we can hone in on some of the issues and figure out the best path forward. Personally, I believe the Health and Wellness Service Team needs to be reorganized into more than one service team so that we can achieve our Ramsey County mission, a county of excellence working with you to enhance our quality of life. Again, this is not a discussion for today, but one that I believe should take place, possibly in a workshop in the relatively near future. We've been kind of dancing around this a little bit, and I just think it's time that we really look at it and look at the data, not pointing fingers at anyone, just trying to figure out, okay, what are we doing here? But when you think about that, almost half of our employees are in one service team. And it seems like we're asking a lot at all levels in that service team. And so I'm hoping that we can have a discussion about how better to make it so that people feel heard and we can move forward, and everybody wants to do the best work possible. We've got the most dedicated staff I have ever seen, and we just want to do it as best we can.
Excellent. Thank you, Commissioner Reinhardt. We'll put that on our calendar. Thank you. Commissioner Fretham.
Before I share my other comments, I'd like to respond a little bit to
Yes,
that. And I think timing-wise, it would be a good time to explore with the establishment of the Department of Children, Youth, and Families. The state structure is changing, and the state agency that's going to oversee some of those programs is changing, and it, for the same reasons, in terms of a bulk of folks in one agency, makes it really hard for one person to lead. That makes a lot of sense. I look forward to the conversation. As far as this particular board action, I wanted to hopefully just lend some clarity for those who don't know. Prior to being on the board, I worked at the Department of Human Services overseeing the Child Care Assistance Program. So I have a lot of content knowledge on this. And I think there's some relevant pieces to share about this work. Prior to about 2008, when the MEC squared eligibility system launched, pretty much everything was done on paper. And you had to, as a caseworker, determine whether a family was eligible for each particular sub-program of the Child Care Assistance Program. CCAP is one of the actually underrated stars in terms of braiding and blending funding on the back end where people don't see. And essentially, CCAP is a number of sub-programs that have different funding streams. So the MFIP child care program has a lot of TANF funding supporting it, and that's why it's an entitlement program. And if you qualify by being on MFIP, you get the funding no matter what. BSF has more CCDBG funding, so it is limited. And that's why we have waiting lists. But in terms of if I'm a family and I'm going in to apply, it is the same application. And if I'm a caseworker and I'm trying to determine eligibility, you're entering everything into the system the same way. The only difference is going to be the system is then going to determine, is this family on MFIP? Well, no, well, then they're not qualified for the MFIP program. And they're going to say, did they just come off of MFIP? No, well, then they're not qualified for transition year. And then there's transition year extension. And then they get down to, if they're not qualified for everything but they meet the other eligibility requirements, it's basic sliding fee or BSF. And then there's one additional screen that they need to fill out that says, is there funding available? And that's going to determine whether they get funded or waitlist. So for both workers and families, the process is all sort of hidden from them. So the fact that we've separated BSF and MFIP administration since 2008, when there was a system doing that, doesn't make a ton of sense. And this is, so it's important to know that this is not a question of Think Small's work. I worked for Think Small before it was Think Small. They did great work. They had a great team. I worked with stole their former director for the CCAP team at the state. Amazing work, amazing workers there. It's just about the fact that we're splitting it up and making it more complicated than it needs to be. The other piece of this is that the way the funding allocation works, because BSF, it's not an entitlement, you only get a certain amount as a county. And there are requirements how you spend that. And if you don't spend, at least I think it's 90%, they could take it away. And then our money goes to a different county and gets reallocated to a county that's spending it. I will also say, strategically, some counties overspend their allocation because counties are trying to manage within a very narrow number, and it's hard to predict how those costs are going to roll. A lot of times, if you overspend by a little bit, there's a funding pool that gets reallocated and covered that. So there is a strategic and policy decision that really needs to be made potentially at the board level on, do we overspend? Do we push it? Because if we overspend and there isn't money to cover it, the board has to cover it. That shouldn't be happening at a nonprofit organization to make those decisions on spending. It pulls it too far away. So bringing this back on board is about making sure that we have the pool of workers to support this and that we have the funding decisions at the right level. And especially as things continue to move and if Great Start scholarships get established, how that gets administered might also impact the work that we do in different ways. So having this change happen now is important. I have asked Cisa Keller, who's the president and CEO of Think Small, to be here in case you have any questions about the impact of this change on Think Small. The important thing now is that we really have to approve this today. Because of the shift away from Think Small as a subcontractor, obviously if your job is ending at the end of the year, you start looking for new jobs. I can tell you about that. But you can't rehire because you have to go through the same process of training that all of our caseworkers go through. It takes you 6 months to even get through the training and be able to process a system. If Think Small loses someone now, they cannot onboard someone in time to process those cases, which has resulted in this huge wait list in Ramsey County where we have funding that we could be supporting these families if we can just get the cases processed. We have to get folks hired as soon as possible because the other side of it is if we're only projected right now to spend 61% of our allocated funds, they're going to take money from us and that could impact us into the future. And it's going to take very careful case management to spend up enough where we're not going over next year because once you approve a family on BSF, you can't take them off due to lack of funds. So this is probably going to need to be a second conversation, but we have to start processing this backlog immediately. And then there needs to be a conversation about whether the county board is willing to cover more for overspending next year should that arise. But I just wanted to make sure everyone had the information they needed to approve this particular ask today because it's got to happen. It's overdue. We're going to be in trouble this year and families are going to be in trouble if we can't get it approved today.
Thank you. Your knowledge and expertise in this area is very helpful. I appreciate it. I do have a few other questions. Maybe we can have staff come up to have a conversation about. I guess what I want to know is about that, onboarding training. If we know how long it's going to take to get people onboarded and trained, and then if we have a risk of losing funds this year if we don't have enough people to implement the programs.
Good morning.
Good morning. So do you want me to repeat that question? Okay, so what I'm wondering about is, as Commissioner Fretham mentioned, there's a process to hire and onboard and how long that training takes to get onboarded. And if we have a backlog now, are we at risk of losing money that should be administered to families before the end of the fiscal year? How long that process of onboarding will take and how we're going to get the funds out the door yet this year?
Good question. Good morning, Madam Chair, Commissioners, County Manager. I'm very glad to be here today to come to this milestone. To bring basic sliding fee in-house has been a lot. It's a big shift. I understand the concern. I understand the complexity of this program. But I have here today the whole team, including from operations side, physical team, data analysis team, that we have been working this for a very long time. In terms of question about the planning, about the transition plan, we strategically already hired 4 FTEs to our current complement to prepare for them to take over this work once it gets approved. So we do have those 4 staff that will be ready. Also, on June 3rd, the department is planning to hire about 30 FTEs, authorized positions that we have in the department. Some of those positions will be allocated to this basic starting fee team. In addition to that, we have already working with HR. Once this is approved, we are going to have a special hiring process to do this team. My team has been in contact with DHS, Basic Starting Fee Policy team. We have been meeting with other counties, Hennepin County, in this case, to learn their best practices, how they do the onboarding. We have engaged with our training team to ensure that once this team comes on board, so we have a plan in place. So I truly believe that we're in a better position right now to prepare for this big change. I understand there will be some transition time to make sure that we do this. In terms of the backlog that we have today, we do have a plan led by manager Marisha. She's here today. She and her team, they have a complete plan to implement how we can get rid of this waiting list that we have now. Our goal is by September to open the wait list and monitor ongoing basis. Our plan is not to have any wait list, and we need to serve the community that need these services that has not been served for many years.
Can you say more about what does that mean to open the wait list? If we have existing funds that haven't been administered, can you just talk through that a little bit more? I'm a little confused about wait list versus actually awarding the funds.
Sure. So I may have my team to come in here to explain operationally very well, but in terms of the wait list, means when people request to get in basic starting fee childcare, you need to take an action, meaning that you receive their application. Once you receive the application, someone has to check their application and make if they're eligible or not, determine their eligibility. If you don't have capacity to do that, the people remain on the list. And the application is valid only for 30 days. So when these 30 days passes, and you need to reach out those people to see if they're still interested in. So our plan is to remove the wait list. So we have to reach out to those people who are on the wait list to make sure that if they're still interested. And then we have to follow the process from there so we can put them a program that they're eligible for.
And how long are people typically on a wait list for?
For how long? About 6 months.
Okay. All right, great. Does anyone else have any questions? All right, thank you. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, with that, we will go to a roll call.
Brother,
Aye.
McGuire,
Aye.
Moran, Ortega, Reinhardt, Zhang,
Aye.
and Martinson.
Thank you. Next, we will have our presentation on our legislative update 2024. We've got our hopefully better rested legislative team after session ended last week. Director O'Rourke and Melissa Finnegan. Did you have opening comments? Do you have opening comments or no? Go ahead. Okay, Commissioner Moran, let you just do an introduction.
Well, good morning. It has been a while. It has been a long journey as we engaged and waited and participated in the legislative process around Ramsey County priorities, advocating for our needs to help move us forward. And you ladies have been at the forefront of leading that work. The last few days were a little crazy, a little difficult, and a little challenged not to get everything over that we wanted to move forward. But here we are, and so I'm excited to have you two here to give us an update of what our legislative look like and how we were able to benefit from the intercession.
Excellent. Go ahead, Director O'Rourke.
Well, thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you, Commissioner Moran, for that nice introduction. I'll start off by answering that. It was great to work with Commissioner Moran at the helm of our legislative committee. This was our first year with her in that leadership role, and it was just a fresh take on the legislature, both with her experience as Ways and Means Chair and strong relationships both in the House and the Senate. It was fun to work together, and she was up there a number of times both to testify and do some of the behind-the-scenes work that supports this platform. So with that in mind, we've got a series of 6 or 7 slides. This is really meant to be an update with a high-level update on the Ramsey County state priorities, a chance for you to ask a few questions. We'll probably take notes and get back to you on some of that. We do enter into a month or so where we're giving legislative updates in a few other places. I know JIP-TAC is coming up at the end of the month, which is our joint property tax group with the city of St. Paul and the school district of St. Paul. And then we also have a Ramsey County League of Local Governments that Melissa and I will do together the morning of the 14th. And just talking through this and reading through all the bills obviously helps us get ready for the 2025 legislative session. That starts on January 14th and actually is not all that far away. So setting the stage, I'm not the first person to say it, but 2023 was unprecedented in terms of the amount of spending, policy, and the pace. We came in with a whole lot of new faces, especially in the Ramsey County delegation, and a lot of those folks are really doing a great job both as freshmen and as more seasoned legislators. But we've got a great team at the Capitol in terms of the 25 or 26 legislators who represent Ramsey County. Our 2 leaders from that work are Senator Mary Kunesh, of course, and then new this year was Representative Samakab Hussein, was especially hardworking in the House and a real just easy access to him and somebody that we've especially enjoyed working with. Chair Pappas obviously headed up the bonding committee, which works out very nicely for St. Paul and the surrounding Ramsey County suburbs and the East Metro in general. That's balanced out with Representative Fu Lee, who represents North Minneapolis and the West Side. Both chairs referred often to the pent-up demand of projects in the pipeline because of the years where they didn't have a bonding bill. Both of those chairs referenced often $7 billion worth of requests in legislation that had been brought forward. Some of you know this, but it's worth saying there have been more and more nonprofits seeking cash in the bonding bill. And, that competes with local government projects quite a bit. It puts pressure both on those legislators and then also on us to try to make something work there. There are a limited number of legislative days in any biennium. How many are there? 120. There are 120 legislative days, and that's days that they can actually be on the House or Senate floor. A day when they're just in committee doesn't count as a legislative day, but they ate up quite a few of those last year. So I don't know if anybody noticed, but at the top of our legislative update every week, Melissa had a little tracker at the top with a number of legislative days that were left. And I was secretly hoping they'd burn through more and more of those so that they could get done early, but that's almost never, ever, ever the case. I think the last week of session, they ended up going Monday, Wednesday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, so that they could burn up those last 5 most efficiently. Back to setting the stage, it's worth, you all know this, but for people listening at home, we had a new Senate Majority Leader in Erin Murphy. She, of course, is a legislator from St. Paul, a great go-to for us, but she has a special place in history now because she has served as the Majority Leader in both the House and the Senate. And according to NPR, she's the first person to ever have that distinction. Of course, she stepped into this position because then Majority Leader Carrie Dietzich, who's a great fan and a go-to for local government types, her cancer had resurfaced, and they essentially are traded spots. Senator Murphy had been the chair of the State and Local Government Committee. She and Commissioner Aide, but Senator Carrie Dietzich ended up flipping spots for those, and it took that committee a while to get off the ground, but she really did a great job of running the committee from afar and taking advantage of the hybrid environment. With it being the second year of the biennium, there was a much smaller supplemental budget target, and it being an election year, Speaker Hortman said early and often that she really only had 3 priorities. One was getting the school resource officer fixed, the tax bill fixed, and then a bonding bill. And those first 2 things happened relatively quickly, I think in February or early March. So all that was really left was a bonding bill. Retiring legislators, this is one where I was somewhat surprised that we didn't have another retirement announced from a Ramsey County legislator. Early on, Representative Jamie Becker-Finn announced her plans to not seek re-election. As we were watching retirement speeches, it struck me she's still the only Ramsey County legislator, I think, not seeking re-election. It's quite possible there might be another 1 or 2. Just yesterday, it's worth noting Representative Dave Lislegard, who is a former mayor of Hibbing, I think, announced he's not running again. So I think it's possible we'll see another couple of those in these early weeks post-session as people gear up and get ready to file and everything. So moving on to the good stuff, we just want to, they didn't pass a bonding bill, and you all know that. Most people at home know that. But we should spend a little time talking about capital investment and infrastructure. Early on, back in January, the governor always releases his recommendations for a bonding bill, and legislators sort of use that as a starting place. There were lots and lots of priorities dealing with higher ed and asset preservation around DNR and all the various state agencies. The governor had no specific money in there for local projects. Our number 1 local project, of course, was Rice Creek Commons. We had our 5 bonding projects moving forward, but the governor didn't put anything in for anybody. And the way I always look at it, as long as you're not left off an important list like that, life goes on. He did have $40 million worth of local projects kind of setting out there as like a suggestion to the legislature, but legislators were quick to, point out that they needed to pass a bonding bill, and we all knew that that number would end up being higher than $40 million. Like I said, we had individual requests for a number of projects. Our number 1 was Rice Creek Commons. The bill was drafted for $25 million. In the list that came out the Wednesday before the last day of session, we had $11.4 million for Rice Creek Commons, which we kind of knew the number was going to be in that area, but several weeks prior, Senator Pappas had told me the most anybody was getting was $8 million. We had shared that with some of you. So to come out with just almost $4 million more is quite an accomplishment, and I want to really hand it to Commissioner Fretham, who was up there quite a bit, did a lot of creative work behind the scenes. A number of you were bringing it up in meetings that you were in, and we, of course, were pushing the ball forward, too. I think it's a great project and one that a lot of legislators really warmed up to quickly. Very easy to understand what we were going for and has obviously been around for a long time. Interestingly, Gibbs Farm, which has always been on our support list, received or would have received $2 million in the local requests part of the bill. Their ask is for closer to $9.9 million. And then I'll hand it over to Melissa. The anaerobic digester, I would just say we've always talked about it like it was a bonding project because it's infrastructure and important to the county.
Thank you, Jen. For the record, Melissa Finnegan. Yes, so our anaerobic digester, we came in with a $30 million initial ask, looking for cash in the bonding bill. And then after conversations with legislators and working very closely with Jamie Fitzke from Centerpoint Energy, who did phenomenal work, we ended up with $5 million out of the renewable development account, which is a separate account funded in the energy bill. And we have informed legislators that that $5 million is a start, and we will be back looking for more funding. We were able to build a large coalition of supporters for this project across energy companies, labor, environmental organizations, and that level of support will be good for us as we continue to look at other state funding opportunities like the Legislative Citizen Commission on Minnesota Resources.
Yeah,
go ahead. Go ahead, Commissioner.
I thank you for all of your work. I know this is always a stressful time, and you can work really, really, really hard, and then things can still not happen, but you made a lot happen. Can you just give me your sense of the fact, now the bonding bill didn't pass. I thought, oh, they've got to go into special session. We have to have a bonding bill, but there's no sense that that's going to happen, right? So do you think we'll get a bonding bill in the first year of the biennium next year, or are they going to wait till the second year? I mean, I know it's going to depend on who makes up the legislature and all that, but yeah, I suppose it's hard to say what the appetite will be. I mean, traditionally the bonding bill has been in the second year, but I know they're not opposed to doing it in the first year as well. What do you think?
Madam Chair and Commissioner McGuire, if I was betting $5, I would say no. But it's one of those things that's worth talking with your colleagues when you see them at parades and all of the fun activities of summer, because it's just making eyes with the board chair.
Yeah.
It's one of those who knows.
Yeah. So there's no commit. Obviously, they can't commit because the House won't all be. I don't know who's all coming back from the House and the Senate. It's hard to say.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, thank you for all your work. I know it was disappointing for all of us, but I guess we're going to have conversations then on where we go from here without those dollars. So that's another conversation. And just to be clear, we did get $5 million out of another fund. So that did pass though. So okay. Thanks for the anaerobic digester. Thank you.
Moving on to the next slide, Ramsey County priorities that passed. These aren't in any particular order, but it's worth noting a number of these. All of you were active in different ways, and I won't call out names because I'd be for sure to miss somebody. We did secure $1 million for the Union Depot passenger rail insurance increases. That's one time. Statewide, there was money added at DHS for the unsheltered work. This is a pretty frustrating number. When you think of what we came in with in the statewide bill, they're only adding $3.4 million of one time, but it really speaks to the level of there was not additional budget dollars around this year period. An initiative I'm sure you guys have all heard of, tax forfeiture settlement and policy bills. This was brought forward by AMC, and they really took the lead on it. It was a response to the Tyler versus Hennepin court case from last year. Tracy West from our team and the Director of Property Taxes was extremely involved in this. Utility relocation mapping made it through in the Transportation Policy Bill. And I'd like to point out Commissioner Moran and Director Ling Becker were very active on a couple of workforce issues in Chair Jay Zhang's omnibus bill that add up to about $300,000, and Representative Samakab Hussein was especially active in this area too.
And I'll keep going. We already discussed the anaerobic digester. The African American Family Preservation Act was a huge lift, and I do want to give a shout out to Commissioner Rena Moran and everything that she did to get this legislation through. The legislation fully becomes effective statewide, and the intention is to provide African American and other disproportionately represented children in the child welfare system the resources for their families that they need to safely stay with their families rather than being separated. So it goes statewide in 2027. For Ramsey and Hennepin County, this program kicks in 2025. Ramsey and Hennepin are going to be the pilot counties for the state. There's a working group to take the learnings that come from the work that we do to make it better statewide, and that pilot program came with a $5 million appropriation to be shared between Ramsey and Hennepin County in an even $2.5 million split. The MnChoice's timeline extension is something that we worked with the Minnesota Association of County Social Services Administrators, MACSA, on. Katie Molinaire from our team worked on that extensively. This timeline extension means that the assessments, rather than currently being good for 60 days, will now be good for a full year, 365 days. We were also attempting to change how reassessments were done so that they were either a less intensive form or that they were able to last for 2 or 3 years. We were not able to get that change. We're continuing to work with DHS and figure out what the federal barriers to that are. And then finally, we did get an extension to spend money we got last year for the youth treatment homes. Originally, that money was going to expire at the end of fiscal year 2025. We've now got that expiring in 2026.
Excellent. I just wanted to note, and I go to Commissioner Moran, if you go back a slide. So when we're talking about the African American Family Preservation Act. This is obviously work that we've been really supportive and passionate about, but I think I heard, so it's $2.5 million one-time appropriation to cover 2 years, but we think it's going to cost more, like $3.5 million. So I just am saying that, so it's 3.5 a year, right? $7 million for 2 years, but a lot more. It's going to cost a lot more than that. I'm kidding. And I just want to say that out loud, because as we're moving into budget time, though we're really grateful for an appropriation, that this will have significant impacts on us and levy dollars moving forward. So I just wanted to say that out loud. Yeah, Commissioner.
And on that note, Madam Chair, as we do head into budget season, I'm just curious with the tax forfeiture settlement. I know we worked really hard. I know you worked really hard. AMC worked really hard to really, work with legislators on the impacts that this has on counties. And I think that was a big lift to let them know that. But so, what do you think how are you feeling about that? What the outcome of what happened there?
Thanks, Commissioner Moran. McGuire.
Yeah.
I'll take that one. That's a good example in terms of storytelling. You go through like the last 4 days of session, and on Friday afternoon, these are two separate bills. The settlement bill, which is around $109 million, I think, statewide. That money is like at the state level, so counties shouldn't have to do a lot of work in terms of distributing that and whatnot. But Ramsey County had the third highest liability in that. I remember going to an online meeting with AMC staff on Friday morning, and a number of county commissioners and staff, they were still working out the policy details of that, and there were a lot of wrinkles to it still. Interesting point, the way public policy works, the bill brought forward by AMC wasn't really the vehicle or the bill that became law at the end of the day. And so it wasn't necessarily AMC's bill anymore. But once the settlement money went, or the budget money, if you think about it, property tax county lobbyists really wanted to see the policy side of it go to, even if it wasn't perfect, because the thought being, we've already educated so many legislators about how this works. To have this policy piece wait till next year is just like starting over from less than zero, because there are a lot of people that just don't care about these kind of issues. So it was sort of some of how the sausage making actually happens. But and then ultimately that was included in the final package that you've probably heard about. I went to the Capitol, I think on Wednesday, to get a copy, and it's literally 3 reams of paper. I get one because they print them anyway. So it would just be recycled, but I took my allergy medicine and stacked it up against it and took a picture, because it really is pretty thick.
And so I'm sure we'll be feeling the implications of it. So there's a policy change, and then we as usual, we probably didn't get the resources from the state to help cover some of this, but it's going to cost us some money to be doing these tax forfeitures that we were previously able to get some reimbursement for, right? Or I don't want to say reimbursement, but
Commissioner,
how are you feeling about it?
Yeah, I'm not prepared to give a full summary on it right now, but I'd be glad to dig that up from AMC. And what passed does address a lot of the concerns of counties in terms of process and procedure, and adding a lot of clarity to it.
I'll just give a shout out to Dave Listlegard, I think, who was really helpful. I don't know if he was helpful on this one, but he's been really helpful in local government things. Anyway.
Commissioner Moran had a comment.
Yeah, let me just say I'm going to miss Dave Listlegard, Representative Dave Listlegard, too. He has been really good in looking at county and local government and advocating hard. Yeah. We don't know what's going to happen with that district.
I know, we don't.
I feel really sad. So one, on the work that we did around workforce development, I want to give a huge big shout out to Representative Hoden Hassan, who worked really, really hard in the conference committee to get those dollars and to make sure that the Senate was versed in what the House was doing and moving. So I want to just recognize that the hard work that she did to make that happen. And to also look at the African American Family Preservation Act, and just to kind of like maybe address some of the fears that people have about how much it's going to cost, and everything has a cost associated with it. But my hope would be that as we look at the work that we do through an issue, an initiative that is really a deficit-based system, that we look at the worst of the worst and we remove, that we begin to implement the Family First initiative that moved a few years back, and look at family support services and how we keep children in their homes safely, knowing that an abundance of kids who are removed from their homes are removed because of neglect and not abuse. And not that it can be as much as educational neglect. But most of our kids are removed for those reasons. And that we begin to look at a system that is a strength-based system that really support kinship care, that really support families, using some of those PSOT dollars that has been given to counties to use to really support families, and look at the protective factors. And so I think we need to talk more and more about what protective factors are and what that looks like, and how they can create stronger families, right? Families who, if you heard some sort of horror stories on how, especially African-American children, have been disproportionately removed from their homes in comparison to another family who the same neglect, the same issue has happened, and they got support. So I think, we just got to also do some mind shifting here in how we do our work and how we support families, how we support communities, and how we support African-American families. Because there's a long history of a country that has removed black kids from their family with no disregard and value that family matters. It matters. And there have been a long history that continues today of removing our children from their home and disconnecting them from their mothers, from their grandmothers, from their aunties, from their brothers, from their sisters. And the harm that has caused, the trauma that they have endured. And so this is an opportunity that I see for us to look at a system that is really been strongly leaning on not that type of support, very, very much deficit-based, and look at how we can create a more strength-based that wraps children around their family and their community, and things that makes children feel safe, right, and seen and heard. And so as we look across the states, if we look across, it's the burden right now will be on Ramsey County, Hennepin County, to continue to do the good work that we have been done, but also look at how we can do that better and be able to help other counties across this state with best practices, that we are doing what we are doing based on data, so we can become a data-informed system and not from people assumptions, and not from their own lived experience or how they see the world, but what we see helps families be better and stronger while also keeping children safe. Because yes, that is the very first priority. And safety is not just the physical safety, it's the mental safety too, and the trauma that we see that has been endured and ignored. Get a quick little example: when you remove a child from the home and separate them from all that they know, including their family, and then they are in a home with a stranger, and they are asked to show up in school like everything is perfectly fine, and when they begin to act out because they're missing their family, they're missing their mothers, they're missing everything that keeps them safe and secure, they act out, and we get up and we call the police. And now we have funneled these young people into a system, right, a criminal justice system that can sometimes be also unforgiving, right, that has lifelong impact. And so, when we look at children and say, well, what is wrong with them? Why are they acting out? I'm just like, is that really the question that we're asking of these kids who have been removed from everything that they know that makes them feel safe? We know two things. We know often kids love their parents, and often their parents love them. There may be barriers to what that looks like, but how can we give families the support they need as we do for foster parents. No jabs at foster parents. Thank you for your service, right? Absolutely. They play a critical role here. But we have a system that pays them to do that. Why not invest that in a family, in creating a more stronger, healthier family unit? And poverty should not be an indicator for why kids are being removed from their home. So we have a lot of work to do, and yes, there's a cost associated with it, but it's also an opportunity for us to look at how we do our work and get the data that we need, the best practices that we need, and set the tone for what can be done in a way that is not done across the state and in many communities.
Excellent. Thanks, Commissioner Moran.
One of our final slides here, Madam Chair and others, is just some provisions that did not pass. We wanted to, in full disclosure, have them in front of you again. Obviously, the bonding request didn't get across the finish line. Second bullet, we did have a bill to make changes to the Ramsey County HRA Authority. That was not included in an omnibus bill at the end. I do believe if we would have had a Senate omnibus bill, that it would have been included. There was not one. It was Commissioner Zhang's first time testifying up there for that, so she did a great job. But that's one that'll likely be back for next year. County program aid changes that we had talked about ultimately didn't advance as well, though we educated a lot of folks, including the Commissioner of Revenue, about some of our concerns with that, and I think it sets the stage well for some interim work.
And AMC committed to doing some interim work, a working group around this over the summer months, so we'll be doing that with AMC.
Lastly, before I hand it over to Melissa, there was an issue brought up that was my number one thing I was watching in the tax bill, and that was not something that was on our radar before session, but it would have repealed the sunset on local homelessness aid. This is funding that just counties get. Chair Aisha Gomez from Minneapolis, who's been a huge homelessness advocate, introduced both the repeal and then added more money in the tax bill. Ultimately, this was not included in the end just because of end of session issues, but I think there'll be something that we support for next year.
We were also unable to achieve the ability to use SNAP funding to purchase hot prepared meals at grocery stores. That was due to an unforeseen federal barrier, so we're now pivoting to addressing that at the federal level. We're seeking $1.5 million for funding for our youth mental health urgent care, which is opening later this summer. We had an excellent hearing in the Senate, and we're included in the Senate bill going into conference committee. Unfortunately, that conference committee only met behind closed doors, and when they released their spreadsheet late Sunday night, funding for this project was not included. The Law Library Funding Task Force that Commissioner Fretham has been championing, we struggled to get a bill hearing on that despite several efforts. I will also note a state government bill didn't pass anyway, so a lot of things that were moving through the state and local committee suffered because of that. And then finally, we were seeking additional funding to support lead investigations due to the state dropping the blood lead level limit. We were working on that with the City of Minneapolis Public Health Department, and we're unable to get funding for that one as well, but we'll try again next year.
Yeah, Commissioner Moran.
So can we talk a little bit about the youth mental health urgent care funding that did not get a hearing in the House? Yeah. Because I believe this was like really important and ended up funding some other initiative that had no hearing at all. Do you have any information to share on that at all?
Commissioner Moran, we did repeatedly ask for hearings in the House. Our first request, we were told, well, that's a budget item, so we'll hear it after policy deadlines. Then we came back and were told that there was just no time to hear it, but if it comes over from the Senate, that it would be considered. And then, as I mentioned, they went into conference committee, and it was not funded on the spreadsheet. I cannot speak to what was decided when in those closed-door negotiations, but the next item on the spreadsheet was a similar amount of money for a project that had not been in either the House or the Senate going in.
I just want to, as a former chair of Health and Human Service Policy Committee, who've always been on Health and Human Service, who has a great relationship with Representative Liebling, it's important. Relationships matter. and had just had been at the forefront of my mind, or a conversation had been about this, I think it would have been helpful for myself to have some conversations with her on this issue that is hugely, hugely, hugely important. Our kids are struggling too much with mental health, not to have these dollars. The work that Ramsey County is doing is hugely important in this area. And so it's just a reminder, right, that relationship matters, and to use every tool in the toolbox. And don't depend on someone to go in the conference committee when you don't know what they're going to do, right? That we use all of those relationships and partnerships. Everything is on the table. We don't know until we don't know, and everything goes to the last minute.
Yeah. Commissioner Zhang.
I would say, having like this being like my first experience testifying there on county items, I would say a reflection that I have is that we need to bring our community partners together. So many of these items impact so many community partners that we have, and on several committees that I'm on, that I think it's just a matter of like when we do our legislative priorities for next year, is that it's important for us to have a column about who our partners are in the community, right? Because it's so much about like, we can have our subject matter experts there, like our staff and ourselves, but I think what's going to make the biggest impact is having community partners there to talk about the impact of those programs to a lot of the policies and the funding that we're requesting for at the Capitol.
And Madam Chair,
Yeah.
I wrote that down. I didn't mention it, but that is really important, that those who have been impacted by the system, those who have a story to share, we have to lean on our community partners. That's why we have them. They need to be up there testifying. They need to be the one who's writing the letters to the legislators. They need to be making the phone calls and the emails. We have to utilize them in a better way, because that is where the power really lies, coming from community.
Yeah. Excellent. Thank you. Back to you.
With that, Madam Chair, I appreciate you pointing both the importance of community engagement and bringing those partners in. That's all we have for today. Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you for a great update. Appreciate it. We'll take a day break and then start on next year's agenda. Thank you. All right, next up, County Connections.
Thank you, Madam Chair. First, I want to announce that the Government Finance Officers Association has awarded Ramsey County their Outstanding Achievement in Popular Annual Financial Reporting Award for the fiscal year ended December 31st, 2022. So congratulations to our finance team. Yay. And a shout out to Communications and Public Records for all their, I'm sorry, I said that wrong. To CPR for all of their support in the effort. Thank you, Rose, and your team. Also, I wanted to provide an update this morning on the state flag and Great Seal change. For clarity, the state flag is required to be on display outside the state capitol and in courtrooms. Other bodies of government are not required to display the flag and any flag that they voluntarily display or use. So the state flag in all Ramsey County courtrooms need to be in place, the new state flag, by January 1st. We are working at this time on an inventory of all of the flags and seals in place in Ramsey County. We've got that nearly put together, and then we'll be working with finance to take a look at mapping that inventory to the cost of replacements and setting a path forward for our existing flags and seals. So we'll keep you updated on that. I just wanted to make clear here that there are different timelines for state government than there are for local government on this. And we are working on it kind of in sync with where the other metro counties are. And lastly, continuing our celebratory note, I'd like to invite Deputy County Manager Carrie Collins up to the dais.
No worries. Thank you, Madam Chair, Commissioners. I am thrilled to announce that Peng Yang has been named Director of Libraries for Ramsey County. So, and before I ask ask her to come up and say a few words, I'll just share that many of you know Peng has about 20 years of library experience, both serving the City of St. Paul Library System and Ramsey County. She came to Ramsey County in 2021 as the Deputy Director. In 2022, she took on additional leadership responsibilities after the Library Director was taken away due to upward mobility by a partner county, and she really leaned into toggling both the director and the deputy director role during some really challenging years. Anybody who knows Peng knows that she's, hi, I'm Peng from the libraries, and that disarming greeting that you see should not dismiss the fact that she is a fierce giant and advocate for racial equity and for systems change. She has been leading the culture transformation work within the library system, and I had the privilege of joining her and a cohort of Ramsey County leaders down to Montgomery, Alabama with the Burns Institute, and her reflections and her thoughts will carry with me throughout my career forever. And so I want to just say I am thrilled to bring her up here and to announce this role, very well deserved, and we are so honored to have you serving EGCI in this space. Thank you, Peng, and come on up.
Hi, everyone. I'm Peng from Libraries. Madam Chair and Commissioners, I am so honored and humbled to walk into this esteemed position and important role as a child who did not speak a word of English entering elementary school and having lived through significant poverty. I'm honored to be leading a phenomenal team that prepares our youth for school readiness, that provides digital access to our residents to connect our communities to each other, that makes people's lives better and creates spaces where people can simply exist. As a product of refugees, perhaps it has been within my ancestors' wildest dreams that led me to where I am today, in addition to you all. Thank you. I look forward to continuing to support our communities and being responsive to our communities' interests and needs, and to lean into work with communities that experience the most marginalization. Thank you.
Thank you. Congrats, Peng. Mr. Reinhardt.
Thank you, Madam
Yeah.
Chair. I am so excited that you are in this role. I knew that it's where you belonged, but but there was a lot of turmoil going on and trying to figure out. We changed the law and the role of the library board. There were a lot of things that you really had to navigate through, and you did it with aplomb. It was absolutely fun to see. I know it wasn't necessarily fun for you all the time while you were going through it, but the leadership that I saw develop over a very short period of time, where you were just like, okay, got to do this, and get it done while being very respectful of everyone around you. This has not been an easy role to fill because of all the changes that were made, and none of those were your fault. I mean, we chose what we needed to do and got it done, and are very pleased with the outcome. I don't know that we could have done it without you.
Yeah, for sure.
And so I just want you to know how important you are to not only what we do going forward, but how we got here in the first place. So thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, Commissioner Rand.
So congratulations. As a first-term commissioner, I couldn't believe the turmoil that was happening with the libraries. And so I know it was a lot, and you stuck in there, you stuck strong, and was able to move some legislation around that, and here you are today. So just want to say congratulations in this new role.
Yeah, congrats. Yeah, Commissioner.
And just thank you for taking this role and for being in this role for so long, and just showing us what can be done there, and just for your involvement in the community too. I'm seeing you in so many places, so we love your participation in the community, and so just thank you for all your work and your continued work. We're very excited.
And Madam Chair,
Yes, go ahead.
can I just say, it's not a new role, just officially.
Yes.
Owning it, exactly. You know, Ramsey County has been known for having good libraries, right? We've had good libraries for a long time, but now we're going to have great, noisy, active libraries under your leadership. So here's to greatness, Pang. Congrats.
Thank you, commissioners.
Yeah. Okay, we're going to go to outside board and committee reports. We're going to start with Commissioner Reinhardt, and I'm going to circle back to Commissioner Redham. Go ahead.
Okay, thank you.
I always miss her in the circle.
Madam Chair. Well, the two things that were probably the most fun that we did last week was actually on Tuesday after our board meeting, being at the Union Depot for the second train to Chicago. It's really exciting to have that, and it took a lot of work and a lot of time. But it was great to be there for the celebration. Also, that was followed by the Young Adult Career Academy graduation ceremony and celebration. And it was fun to sit and talk to each of the young people that were going through that, and one was going to take advantage of the extension at my table, and I know there were others as well. But it was just really inspiring, and I'm glad that we are doing that, and that's primarily because of Ling Becker and all of the, not just getting the job done, but expanding the role and really encouraging young people to work at the governmental level. So it was great. And then we had the Recycling and Energy Board meeting, and I'm feeling really good about where we're at with that. We talked about the LCCMR grant proposal, and I think that, we are in a good position there, but the lobbying doesn't end when the legislature does, and so we'll be talking more and more about that public-private partnership and how we need to move forward with it.
Excellent. Great. Commissioner Moran.
A couple of things. So first one, I've had the privilege and honor to do so much, to show up in the community, participate in graduation around workforce development and entrepreneurship. And so I just want to highlight a couple of initiatives: the Bridge Maker Entrepreneur Fellowship, which is a partnership that we have with the city on workforce. The city, through the Full Stack St. Paul, has invested in its bridge makers and the young entrepreneurs who have done this work in partnership with Ramsey County under the leadership of Director Ling Becker. And I say that a couple of times because it's important. Partnerships are important. We can't do this work all by ourselves. So to have, whether it's county, whether it's philanthropic community, the private sector, it takes all of, whether it's going across different departments, the work that we do has to find those interconnected moments where we are doing this work through a higher vision of how we connect and see the interconnectedness of the work that we do. The Bridge Maker, which is led by this awesome young man who continues to show up and participate and thrive and bring young people together. Oh gosh, and his name is failing me right now, so I'm really feeling bad. Someone know his name?
Jose.
Not Jose. Cole. Yes, Cole
Yeah, there you
Stevens.
go.
Let's say Cole Stevens one more time, Cole Stevens. Just an awesome young man who is just leading as an entrepreneur, as a business person, who led the whole conversation in 2020 when people couldn't work any longer. They was at home and they was receiving unemployment, and we realized that young people are in the workforce, they're taking care of themselves and their families, but they could not get unemployment. He changed that landscape. He and others, but a lot through him leading that movement at that time. So good work to them. I had the opportunity to, as we know, this is like George Floyd week, month, and so I had the honor of having a conversation with Al McFarland, who is the owner of Insight News, who invited me to be a guest on the show, with the conversation with Al McFarland. It was a special George Floyd 6-day series live from George Floyd Square called Amplifying the Voices. And so it was a great moment to just look back at 2020, what was happening in 2020, what was happening around police reform, police accountability, and some of the bills that were moved around use of force and banning chokeholds, and so many I think there were 7 provisions that became law at that time. Just remembering, there then and where we are now around police accountability. At the same moment of talking about police accountability and police reform, I had the awesome opportunity to attend the St. Paul Police Memorial Ceremony that really honors the life lost of officers in the line of duty. It was a very humbling experience. It marked the 60th anniversary. It was great to see, city and county officials there, friends and families, all downtown to memorialize slain officers. And with that, I'd just like to say that, I know there's tension, or some people perceive there's tension between law enforcement and the Black community. There's a long history of that, too, how policing came out of slave patrol. But I want to say out loud that it is really, really, really important that the Black community take hold and become law enforcement officers. We need to be the one patrolling our communities. We need to have those relationships and those connections back out in the community. And so as we talk about law enforcement and the disconnect that has happened, that is within the Black community, I say take hold of that and lead and become law enforcement officers. We need you, whether that is for the city of St. Paul or that is the Ramsey County Sheriff. We need you on the front line in that work, patrolling our communities. And last, I went in with, I participated in the Quality of Life Downtown St. Paul meeting. And, St. Paul, downtown St. Paul is struggling. They're struggling with looking at safety, looking at the drug addiction, the mental health of individuals walking around in downtown St. Paul during the day, people feeling uncomfortable. What we're seeing on the light rail is atrocious. We can do better, but we only can do better if we can see that the work of law enforcement and community and non-based organization, and we're all a part of the solution, and we're working together collectively to make people's lives better. That's why we're here, right? And, when we look at the light rail from Snelling to, I'm going to say, Western Avenue, and I am not going to include Rice Street because I think Rice Street is covered because that's the capital. And they're there. They're going to protect the lawmakers. But what we are seeing happening on those platforms and I also had a meeting with Chief Morales over Metro, right? But the partnership between Metro Police and St. Paul Police is going to have to be stronger. Whether it's on the train or on a platform should not matter who is responsible. I say we are all responsible. And so we have work to do to look at, yes, the quality of life downtown, and they're looking again at those platform stations, what's happening around those platform stations that spreads out into the community and spreads out into downtown St. Paul. And so I think the county also has a role to play. And so my hope as I end with this is that one of the things that was asked of our Ramsey County commissioners was to, how can we, when we look at public safety, that has to do with mental health, that has to do with addiction, and the question is, how do we invest in that? I would like to know out loud to say, for those opioid dollars that we are using, what are we using those dollars for? And what are the results of those dollars? And how, I would like to just know, what are we doing with those dollars? And what are the results of those dollars? And are we still on a good pathway? Or do we need to relook at what we need to be doing? And maybe some of those dollars, maybe, I don't know. We need to look right at a budget and see how we can better support the crisis that we are in at this moment and do better. And I would end there.
Okay, thank you, Commissioner Moran. Commissioner Zhang.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Last week was a great week. I would just want to first kudos to Commissioner Ortega, Chair Martinson, Commissioner Reinhardt for your years of working around making sure that we get the second train to Chicago. I want to say, recognize you all for your leadership in that space, because I just posted about this event and it got like the most shares ever. and it's related, and like it's people who are excited about the transit options and the availability for folks to use alternative modes to get to Chicago and or other cities. I heard from so many of my constituents about being able to visit family in other parts of our state. So just thank you so much. I know you all work so hard on that, so thank you. I would say, and then the next one is on Thursday, we had a housing forum that we included both city, state, and our partners about just the different housing programs that would be available. And I learned so much from our county staff too. So kudos to our staff, Tanisha Trice from CED, who joined and presented. They were able to give me so much more information again about our housing programs that we have available, and about how you can layer in the dollars that we have available both at the city and the county to be able to afford more housing, because we know that right now housing prices are really high as well. But with our housing, with those dollars, people are able to buy more, even if they just qualify for a first mortgage that is at a price point that is much lower than what the market is providing right now. In addition to that, there were also two big issues. One was the meeting on the MPCA hosted a community meeting about a lot of the air quality violations that Northern Iron had. We had so many people there that attended. Winona from my office was able to attend on my behalf because we had split up meetings that night. So one of the big important pieces was just our staff from public health was just able to share about what the county is there for in partnership, and that includes soil testing of lead for families there, because we can't wholly contribute to just one place for air, but if we can also do lead testing on the soil, then it will help to confirm for folks with on the east side. So that is available. That's a resource that we will push out for folks who are concerned about it. And then the other important meeting that same night, was Youth Justice Transformation. So we've been meeting, and we have these quarterly updates on our risk assessment inventory tool. So now with every youth who enter into our JDC, they are giving a RAI, a risk assessment inventory tool, to determine if they can be released or not too. And we are still finding that we are receiving the most youth from 55106, that is in my district, where 21% of the risk assessment inventory were completed from our youth in 55106. And again, of course, this number is not new, but we are still seeing the most where our youth, where we are seeing racial disparities. In Ramsey County, Black youth make up 21% of the total population. However, they represent 68% of the total JDC admissions from the last quarter of this year. And following that would be our Hispanic or Latino and Karen individuals, who make up the largest ethnic demographics entering into our JDC. So I would say, Commissioner Moran, thank you for your point again about keeping and preserving African American families together, because what it is again, and why I'm not surprised, again, it's in my district, it's like one of the lowest income, right? And when there are stresses around poverty, of course, what is our youth? How are we setting up our youth for success when there aren't supports there? And so I just want to share the importance of all the work that we are doing together collectively, and how it intersects with not just our foster care system, our justice system, but also it's wanting to make sure that all of our families are getting the resources and support that they need. And we need to also figure out how we spend and prioritize those resources, when it's our youngest people. So I'm glad that across the county, we are trying to make those connections, and we are bringing community partners together to help address that together. And that many of our departments, especially in EGCI, are thinking about that. And Director Becker has been thinking about that, right? About how we invest in youth, preparing for them for the workforce, but also bringing more resources into that intentionally. So I'm just very appreciative of that.
Excellent.
Yep.
Thank you.
Thank you.
McGuire.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Yeah, a lot going on. And just to recognize, this past weekend was Memorial Day weekend, and to honor all of our veterans and all of those, of course, who gave their life for our country and our democracy. So many thanks to them and to all the events that were going on and all the people that were helping make those events possible. I want to recognize that. There were also a couple of other events that were going on in Ramsey County. One was the kickoff to the State Fair. I know that that's a great opportunity for us the State Fair, to use their facilities, in another way other than the regular State Fair. And then the Professional Women's Hockey League had their well, we hoped it was going to be their last game, but they were expecting 5,000 people on Sunday night, and they got 12,000. Wow. So Minnesota really showed up for that big game, and kudos to all the efforts of everyone who's helping make that happen. And it was right here in Xcel Energy, and they did a great job hosting over twice as many people as they really thought were going to be there. So just thanks to everyone who's making all these great events happening. Also, I want to give a shout out to a Roseville resident, Sarah Barcel, who's been working tirelessly on the Roseville Alzheimer and Dementia Community Action Team. We had an event and a reception honoring her, and so congratulations. And thank you, Sarah, for all of your work. Also, our Public Works MnDOT had a Highway 36 study, and the Active Living Ramsey County Walking and Biking Team were there. It's a great study, and I think I actually talked about that last time. So, but then County Road C in Lexington to Little Canada Road had an open house. So thanks to our Public Works people for that. I also last week, the Roseville Business Council featured Greater MSP, and they talked about how they attract development to our communities, to our area, and they said one of the biggest assets is when we have Ling Becker on a proposal. They said, well, it really helps when you have Ling who puts forward how they're going to get their workforce. So they said it's always an asset to the proposals. So I was, of course, there was lots of kudos going all around for Ling at this meeting. So thank you again, Director Becker, for all your work. I think that probably Commissioner Fretham will talk about this, but the Suburban Ramsey Family Collaborative had their Joint Powers Board second quarterly meeting. Just thanks to Commissioner Fretham. We're getting them on, they're working hard to, lots of work and commitment to continuing their work in a really sustainable way. And thank you, for Commissioner Fretham, for your work on that. And to Director Mary Sue Hansen, who's working really hard, and the entire collaborative board. We had an event. Commissioner Reinhardt was there with me. There were a lot of legislators there, actually a lot of Ramsey County legislators, and we heard from Sandra Feist, Mary Kunish, Aaron Murphy, Kalia Herr, Liz Lee, and they did talk about all the work that they got done this past legislative session. So I want to give a shout out to our government relations team of Jenna Rourke and Melissa Finnegan, who really worked with our legislators, who were feeling quite positive about a lot of the work that they did get done. I mean, of course, there was always work they wanted to get done in addition, but it was great to hear all these Ramsey County legislators talking about the work that they had done. Also, just wanted to say, coming up, There's actually tomorrow or on Thursday, we're having a meeting out in our suburban area to put hopefully some suburban newspaper or some newsletter, something that will get words out to people that really want to hear about local events, because our local newspapers are not, they're not around anymore. And so there's efforts from the League of Women Voters and different community organizations working on that. So just looking forward to that. And then this Friday, I know that Commissioner Martinson might talk about this, but the AMC District 10 meeting will be at Canterbury Park, because it's Scott County, I think, is the one that's hosting this time, and they're moving it around. So hopefully we can all go to that. And then I think Commissioner Ortega is going to talk about train days at the depot this weekend. I'll lead it into you.
She's making assignments.
I'll lead into you.
Go ahead,
You can talk
Commissioner
about that. You
Ortega.
can talk about that. You can talk about that. Yeah.
Actually, train days is going to be, we've had it every year, and it's always been successful. So the publicity has been done. A lot of families come down. It's a huge event. All the commissioners have been there one time or the other. And every commissioner has spoken about the 5 or 6 meetings and events I attended with them. What I do want to highlight, though, I'll take just a minute because we're in the interest of time, is the Rena spoke about the meeting we went to regarding, the crime issue, the drug issue, and CD and everything else. That goes hand in hand with all the empty buildings we have in downtown, which are about 10 to 15, at least 15 buildings between 2 owners, and they're occupied by 50% or less. And while my sentiments are with around the table, and we talk about all we have to do, I want everybody to keep in mind that with 50% of the revenue out of downtown, when we do the levy, that's going to go to Roseville, that's going to go to White Bear. We're going to see big increases. So it's important that we deal with the issues of chemical dependency and others that are affecting our younger people. Quite frankly, we have a lot of empathy for the homeless, but we forget about some of the other folks that we have to address. And it's important because we pay for all our services with our revenue. Mm-hmm. So this doesn't impact, it impacts childcare, it impacts all our social services. And that's my concern. So these meetings are important, not just in the sense of their context, but you got to put all the pieces together and how that impacts and will impact us for the next couple of years.
For sure. Thank you, Commissioner Ortega. Commissioner Fredo.
Yeah, so I haven't updated for a couple of weeks, so I'll be brief. Other folks have already mentioned Recycling and Energy, Suburban Ramsey Family Collaborative. We also had our county courts quarterly meeting, and I attended the Northeast Youth and Family Services meeting for this month. I'm on the executive committee for Metro Mosquito Control. This was a long meeting this month. As you know, we've hired a new executive director. He's been there about 6 months, so talking through just some of the things he's observed in the time that he's been there, potential structural changes, and just budget process changes. So previewing that for our next big group meeting for my colleagues on Metro Mosquito Control. We also had the CAPRW monthly meeting. This was our, a few times a year we do our meetings in person, so this was our in-person meeting, and I just need to praise the work of Sandra Piles, who is our Director of Energy Assistance Program. She's been there for about a year and came into the program, and there were some real problems with how it had been managed to the point where CAPRW was potentially going to lose the program and dollars. And within a year, not only has she improved, but she has dramatically improved this work. And I think when you bring on good leaders, they bring on good leaders, and that's what we've seen at CAPRW. So I'm really happy with what they're doing there. I'll also just note that I won't be at next week's board meeting. I am attending the CAP Law Conference. CAP Law is the national legal expert support for community action. Their mission is to eliminate poverty by strengthening the legal and management capacity of community organizations and community action agencies. I've served on the CAP board since 2020, and currently I'm the one fulfilling the board requirement to have someone with legal expertise, so it felt like a relevant conference for me to attend. And as just sort of government and management issues come up on these boards, they are not fun topics to address ever, but someone's got to do it, and I'm really good at being not fun, so I guess it's me. But I will be there learning more governance and management skills that I can bring not only to CAP, but the other boards that we're appointed to.
Excellent. Thank you for doing that. I think everyone's covered everything. The other thing I just want to say is that tonight there is also a Public Works meeting at the Arlington Hills Library about our 4-3 conversion on the section of Maryland Avenue from Payne to 35-ish. That was once widened, narrowed. So community engagement tonight at 6:30 Arlington Hills Library. We are going to adjourn. We're going to move quickly downstairs because we're a little bit late already to a workshop, and we also then after the workshop at 1:30 have the audit committee meeting today. So more for those who are on the audit committee. Yeah. Thank you. With that, we are adjourned.
Nope, you're good.
You don't have to go.
Presenters are ready downstairs.
Okay.
Yeah, and I asked them to aim to be done at 12, so Carrie's on that.
They're on it.
Also, the heat went up. Did you notice that?
Yeah, thank goodness. I was like, it is cold in here.
Yeah.
I was like,
I sent Gina a text. Can you do anything?
just a little, please.
Yes.
It's turning blue.